guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today as we have a really cute Cricut Joy project for you. We are making Farmhouse Stamped Books. So let's get started. All right guys, so let's talk about how quick and easy it is to set up today's file. Now, I'm using the Cricut Joy, which is super exciting, but it also means that we need to make sure we're either working with a project that's small enough to cut on the Cricut Joy, or it's a file that we can break down into multiple cuts. Now, today's file can absolutely fit on the Cricut Joy, super exciting, but just keep in mind if you're working with your Joy that you do have those size restrictions, all right? Now, what we're gonna do is start out by typing some text, and we want home, sweet home, on 3 separate lines. And from here, we want to change the font. Now, of course, this is a font that I got with my Plus membership from Design Bundles, and it is Sheffield. Now, the reason that I chose this font is because we are making Farmhouse Stamped Books. Of course, I'm not going to actually stamp, and that's where our machine comes in, because instead of stamping, I'm going to add the wording on here with adhesive vinyl. So, works really great with the Joy, but Home Sweet Home, and the Sheffield font has that stamped look. So, I knew it was going to be absolutely perfect. Now, let's talk about sizing. I have cut down boards that are 2 by 6, and then I cut them into 8-inch lengths. And what that means is I need to size these to fit on the sides of those boards, which I measured is only actually 1.5 inches, which I guess is normal for lumber, but I'm not overly familiar with that, so I just brought out my measuring tape and actually measured it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to shapes, and I'm going to pull in a square. And then from there, I can come up here to my size. We're going to unlock that aspect ratio, and it is 8 inches wide and 1.5 inches tall. I'm going to change my fill color, and then under arrange, I'm going to move to back, send to back. And then what I can do is just pull my text over, and then I can size it large enough so that it looks good, but small enough that it's going to fit on that wood block, okay? So there we go. And if you don't know about Farmhouse Stamped Books, they usually have twine or ribbon tied around one side or the other. So just make sure that you leave enough room on one side for that twine embellishment. But for now, I'm very happy with how that turned out. I am going to go ahead and attach it together, and we will click over to make it. Now, when I click over to make it, remember that the Joy can cut without a mat, so I am going to do that. It says without a mat right here, but of course you could change it. Now, the reason that it defaulted to without a mat is because the design is a little too large to cut with a mat, so it picks up on that automatically and says, hey guy, you need to cut this without a mat. Of course, if I needed to cut with a mat, then I could make it a little bit smaller. Now the material size, it defaults to 5.5 times 7.25. That's fine for me because I know that my material is at least 7.25 and I don't have to mirror. So I'm going to click over to continue, and it's going to go ahead and connect to my Cricut Joy. So you need to make sure that it is plugged in, it is turned on, and if needed, you can go ahead and turn on your Bluetooth connection. Now I am using permanent adhesive vinyl, but I'm not using the Cricut brand. But that's okay because I've already tested out these settings before, and I know that I can use the Smart Vinyl permanent setting. So now all I have to do is go over there, and when I'm ready, load the vinyl straight into the machine, and it's going to go ahead and take care of it for me. Now, once I load the vinyl, I do have to come back and click the go button here. So just keep that in mind, that instead of pressing a button on your machine like you do for other Cricut machines, you're going to come back to the software and click go. But for now, let's go ahead and head on over and start working with our books. All right guys, so here we are, and I have some pretty basic supplies for you. Now I'm excited to say this is a smaller project, so I'm able to cut it with my little Cricut Joy, which I absolutely love, but very rarely get to use. So super excited about that. I have some black permanent adhesive vinyl and some transfer tape. Then we have, this is just regular white acrylic paint. a cheapy foam brush, which is my favorite. This is Twine. It is a little thicker, not super thick, but just thicker than what I usually use for some of my other crafts like ornaments or whatnot. Now this is one of my favorites. This is a sanding block, okay, 120 grit. And I order these in bulk from Amazon, but you can also find sanding blocks at the dollar stores and general stores like Walmart. Now this is what I really want to talk to you about, all right? This was a 2 by 6 by 8 board, okay? So it's pretty thick, right? It is actually about 1.5 inches. And what I did was I cut it into 8-inch pieces using a miter saw. So pretty easy to operate, and I am not a handy person. So for me to be able to cut these definitely means that you can cut them also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my acrylic paint and my cheapy paintbrush, and I'm going to paint these white, and then we're going to distress with the sanding block. So just to give you a rundown of what we're going to do, but I'm not going to bore you guys with the paint, so let me show you a really awesome magic trick. Are you ready? Ta-da! So these are the exact same, all right? The same thickness, everything. I have given these 3 coats. These are 3 coats of just regular white acrylic paint. Now you can paint these in any color. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of seasonal options that are available if you like to use these for seasonal decor. They're very popular with crafters who decorate for like the farmhouse look, but really I think any book lover can appreciate what this project does. So now that these are painted, let's talk about distressing them, because these are raw wood blocks, okay? There's nothing special, they're not pre-finished. So what you want to do is really get rid of all of your rough edges, and that's what your sanding block is for. So let me show you what you do. Literally, I mean, I don't think there's a wrong way to do this, but what I like to do is kind of saw back and forth instead of this way, because that's going to wear down into your sanding block. I'm going to go back and forth and see how that also exposes the color of the wood. It gets through the paint. And you can do this as much or as little as you want. You do have rounded edges on this part, so it's not really essential to sand except for these edges where the cut went through. Okay, so if you don't want to distress yours, then you can do the sanding before you paint. So this part of the sanding is strictly for the distressing. Like I said, the corners are already rounded, so this part is completely up to you, but a lot of the farmhouse look depends on the distressing. And you can actually, in case you didn't know this, if you don't want to reveal the wood underneath, you can paint multiple layers of paint. So for example, if I painted a teal underneath the white, then when I started sanding, a layer of the teal would show through. All right, so don't feel like you're restricted to, just regular white and then the unfinished wood color. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. Not super distressed, but this will be the front. So I'm going to repeat this for the other 2 blocks. All right, so the block sanding is done. As you can see, I didn't go super overboard. I just mainly focused on the front of my 3 blocks, okay? Now, it's time to use my little Cricut Joy, and I'm cutting without a mat. So what I did was I just cut my vinyl to fit. And this is just a piece of scrap, but it is permanent adhesive vinyl. All right, so my sweet little Cricut is done cutting. So all I have to do, so anytime that I use transfer tape with wood, I try to make sure to use a new piece each time. It's not mandatory, but it's something that I recommend because, especially a sanded wood surface like this is, then sometimes you won't even notice, but you'll have little sanded particles that will attach themselves to your transfer tape. So all I'm going to do is use my transfer tape, pick up my vinyl, squeegee it down, and then I'll take my first wood block. Now, I plan on tying my twine around the left-hand side, so I'm going to align these to the right. I'm just going to use my eyeballs and smooth it into place. And I don't know if you can see or not, but you see the little white paint particles? And so that can affect how it picks up your vinyl going forward if you were to try to reuse that piece. All right, so we have home. Sweet. Now, you'll notice I do not have a piece long enough, so what I'm going to do is cut this in half. And this is a good scrap saver for transfer tape. I'm going to apply part of it here, and then I'll take the other piece and overlap it. Okay, and there we go. So our vinyl is applied. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and unravel my twine here. Now you can use any twine or ribbon. A lot of people use ribbon. A lot of crafters will also pair this up with certain types of greenery, which can be, really super cute. And what I'm doing is I'm eyeballing here. You can see where my vinyl is. I'm gonna eyeball where I want this to be. And I want it to be about right there. Can you guys see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and tie this. And there's a reason for it. So you can use your finger to hold it in place. Make sure it's tight. Okay, and then you can leave that if you want, or you can trim it off. So now that I have it positioned correctly, I can take the rest of this and I'm just going to start looping it around. And I really like the look of burlap and twine with my farmhouse designs. So I'm going to use this pretty liberally. And if you don't get the positioning exact right off the bat, that's okay, because you'll be able to, have a little bit of slack on your twine. All right, once you have it as many times around as you want, go ahead and trim yourself off an edge. Be generous with it. Twine isn't very expensive, so turn it back down. And now tie it off with the same little loop that you left yourself from the first tie. Okay, so then what you can do is go ahead and give yourself a bow. And your bow could be big or small, okay? If you did not leave yourself enough of a loop, which just seems kind of like what I did here, go ahead and trim this off. Cut yourself a new piece, slide it under, and just tie yourself a bow this way. And now brush away any dust that you have from your twine. We have our very own set of farmhouse books. And like I said, guys, there are a lot of ideas out there to be able to do these seasonally for literally each season. And another great thing that we didn't talk about in the beginning is your cutting skills don't have to be excellent. You can see that none of my blocks really line up exactly. But if you think about a stack of books, they're not going to line up exactly either. So if you happen to have maybe even some scrap pieces, then this is a really great project because they certainly do not have to be the perfect size. You can also, if you have smaller pieces of wood, a lot of people will make these book stacks to use on their tiered tray sets. So definitely lots of things to consider, but I really love them. It's a nice, sturdy little craft. And like I said, you can adorn the top with greenery, you can use ribbon, you know, any sort of accessory. So don't feel like you're tied in. As a matter of fact, a lot of times you'll see like a little wood tag up here, all right? Lots of things that you can embellish these with, but for today, this is our cute, simple little craft, and I personally am absolutely in love with how these turned out. So guys, how do you feel about our Farmhouse Stamped Books? Now, of course I cheated. I did not stamp these. I used adhesive vinyl, but they are super cute and, dare I say, really super simple. And the ability to do these for different occasions, different themes, different holidays is very, very tempting. Plus, for those tier tray owners out there, like I said, you can make little miniature ones and add them to your tier trade kits. So I'm gonna wrap it up for today, guys, but I do absolutely appreciate you joining me. If you learned something, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I really love all the support that you show for us here, and I really love keep bringing you these videos in the future. So I am gonna wrap it up, but thanks again for stopping by, and we'll see you again next time.